Today I just wanted to show you guys my home studio setup. This is in the second bedroom in our apartment. It's a bit of a smaller room, but I think we've done a pretty good job setting it up and making it a very usable, creative space. And so I just want to show you guys that, maybe give you some inspiration if you're in an apartment. And I know I love these kinds of videos and they've inspired me, so I wanted to kind of give back to the community. If you are interested in anything that I show in this video, I'm going to try to have links for pretty much everything on my desk and all around, as long as it's possible. I'm going to try to have links to it in the description. They are going to be Amazon affiliate links, so if you do click that link and buy anything, it does help support the channel. Let's go ahead and start with the centerpiece of the whole setup, which is my desk. This is just a really simple, cheap Amazon desk. It's really nothing special. It's been pretty sturdy and it's held up, so it's been good enough for me. The exact model is going to be linked in the description. Next up is going to be my computer of choice, which I am using a MacBook Pro 14-inch. I have the 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's the M1 Pro. And this computer has been great for me. I love using a laptop as opposed to a desktop for producing. I just think it helps me to be able to just go to a different place and collaborate with people, but still use my stuff. So for me, it's a no-brainer to use a laptop. And I think the M1 Pro 14-inch has just been amazing for me. I mean, I have really no complaints. The battery life is great. It's fast. It gets through my projects with ease, whether it's video editing or creating music. So yeah, if you're looking for a laptop, that would be my recommendation. The studio monitors that I use are the Yamaha HS5s. And these things, they really sound great in the mid-range. They're very honest, and I feel like it really helps you get your mid-range dialed in. However, that being said, there's little to no low end in these. I mean, I think it goes down to maybe about 70 hertz, but even at that, there's a drop off, and I don't think they're an accurate representation of low end. So for that, I mix on my headphones, which are the HD6XXs. I've had these for probably about 4 years now. I really like them a lot. I think they give an honest representation of the whole spectrum. And, you know, as far as mixing in headphones go, these are the best headphones I've used. The mic that I use is the mic that I'm talking into now, which is the Rode Pod mic. I have some issues with this mic, but overall, I think for $100, it's getting the job done. My main issue is the noise floor on this mic seems to be quite high. You might not hear it in the video, but if I turned the gain up anymore, you would definitely hear it. And I actually do have it going into a cloud lifter, which is supposed to help with that, but it doesn't really help too much. I still have issues with it. And it's not like a white noise, it's like a buzz. It's pretty annoying, but other than that, I think for $100, it's been getting the job done. Eventually, I'm going to upgrade to an SM7B, but for the time being, I think it's more than enough. So pretty much all of the stuff we've discussed so far, including my instruments, which we'll get into later, all plug into my Apollo Twin X Duo. This audio interface has been really great for me. I upgraded from a Focusrite 2i2 to this, I think probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And I really wasn't expecting to hear much of a difference in terms of sound quality when we're talking about what's coming out of my speakers. But pretty much immediately as soon as I plugged it in, I was like, okay, no, the high end sounds so much cleaner in the Universal Audio. I was pretty shocked by that. And then from there, it's just been thing after thing that I've been impressed with this. As far as the preamps go, they're incredibly clean. Being able to use the emulations with no latency on it has been great. And then now they've even released another update, which is that some of my plugins that I've purchased from Universal Audio can now be used native. So when I'm mixing, I can use the native plugins on it. However, when I am tracking, I'll use the built-in DSP on the audio interface so I don't get any latency. This workflow has been great for me, and honestly, if I was going to make an upgrade, it would probably be just to one of the rack-mounted ones. Moving on to something that is a little bit more boring is my screen, which is a Dell U2417H. This thing is pretty much just a standard 1080p monitor. There's really nothing special about it, but it was pretty cheap and it's got the job done. So that's what I use. However, I will say ever since I upgraded to Apple Silicon with the M1 Pro, I got this weird flicker issue with it. So I don't know if you guys have a solution for that or if you've seen that. I've tried other monitors and I don't have that issue, but for some reason this one does. So I'm probably going to have to replace it soon because it flickers pretty bad on like darker things on the screen. Also on my desk, I have the Ableton Push 2. I've made some videos on this in the past. And this thing's a lot of fun. I love being able to turn the knobs and have something physical to control things inside of Ableton, having hands-on control. It makes things like automation and mixing just a little bit more fun and a little bit easier. And I also like using the pads to play in drums sometimes. I don't really use it for MIDI too much. I use one of my instruments, which we'll get into later, for that. But as far as like drums, that's great. And then mixing and just controlling and being able to even just hit the record button, it's super nice. Now we take all of this and some accessories, which we'll get into later, and we plug it all into the CalDigit TS3 Plus. This thing has been a game changer for me. Ever since I got a MacBook Pro back in 2019, I got this with it. And basically what this did is it made it so that I could get one cable, plug it into my computer, and everything's ready to go, including the computer charging. This was a pretty big deal for me because I was coming from a desktop, which was just kind of always ready to go. And this basically turns my laptop into a desktop. When I'm at home, I kind of just dock it and we're ready to go. I don't have to plug in a bunch of cables, turn a bunch of stuff on. Nope, you just plug in one cable and you're good to go. But then also you have the ability to unplug it, take your laptop wherever you're going, and continue mixing your projects, or produce with someone that's in a different state. You can take it wherever you want and you have all of your stuff with you still. And that is a huge reason why I use laptops. Without the CalDigit, I honestly might be a desktop person, but having these Thunderbolt docks that plenty of companies make now, it's really just a game changer for laptops. All right, so that pretty much covers everything on my desk. We will get into some accessories later, but since that's kind of boring for most people, I'm going to keep that till the end. So let's go ahead and move on to instruments. The first instrument I want to mention, which just so happens to be probably one of my favorites, is my Prophet Rev 2. Dave Smith was just an absolute legend. He's done so much for not only synthesizers and just that community, but also just people who make modern music in general. He just changed the game completely. And the Prophet sound is one of my favorite synth sounds. So I'm really fortunate to be able to own an instrument that was designed by Dave Smith. And I love the sound of it. I love using it as a MIDI controller. I use it to play pianos and synth sounds and the synth itself. And it's just got such an amazing sound to it. And so I'm probably always going to hold on to this synthesizer. It's really got a special place in my heart. Next up, let's get into some basses. I got two basses. The first one is a Made in Mexico Mustang PJ bass. This was like my first real bass, I guess you could say. I think I got it back in, it was either 2016 or 2017. I had dabbled in some cheaper basses, but this was like my first, real bass, I guess you could say. And this thing is just a workhorse for me. I have some flat wounds on it, and this thing is just all reliable. I mean, it's got a good sound to it, and it just never has issues with buzzing or weird crackling or anything. It just gets work done, and that's what I love about it. It's got a great low end to it. It's honestly just, I couldn't be happier with like the purchase that I've made on this bass. And I really use it all the time still, even though now I do have my next bass, which is a Music Master. Now, this is probably something you probably think I just made a mistake there or something, because not a lot of people have heard of this, but this is a Fender Music Master. I'm not talking about a Stingray Music Man. I'm not talking about a Music Man. I'm talking about a Fender Music Master. Now, what this is back in the 70s, Fender used to take, they basically just took some leftover parts. So they took like the neck of a Mustang bass, the body of a Mustang bass, and then they took like a cheap bridge. And then what they did for the pickup is they put a Strat pickup, a guitar pickup. And so it has one pickup and it's a guitar pickup. Because of that, it has a very unique sound that I have just fallen in love with. I love recording with this bass. Now, this one is not as reliable. It does have some buzzing issues and some crackling issues, but when I'm recording, I can go back and overdub or do another take if I need to. And I'm going to get that stuff fixed eventually. I just haven't got around to it. But this bass has such a unique sound to it. I would strongly urge you to look into them. They're pretty cool. They only made them from, I think, like 71 to like maybe 80. Mine's a 76, but yeah, it's the only vintage instrument I own, and I absolutely love it. The only electric guitar I have is a mini Strat. It's a Squire. It's just a really cheap guitar. I'm not much of a guitar player. I would like to learn a little bit more. But this thing, you know, it gets the job done if I'm recording some parts. Usually I'll have some other people record electric parts for me. So it's not a huge deal, but it is a little bit fun to mess around with. It's a really small guitar and it's pretty fun. The last physical instrument that I have is a Martin I'm gonna have to look at this, GPC PA5. I don't know why acoustics always have weird model names. It's kind of weird. I don't get it, but this is an amazing sounding guitar. It's actually not mine, it's my wife's. But it is so good. It's one of the only acoustics that I think you can plug in and the pickup actually sounds pretty good. I'm usually really picky about plugging an acoustic in. Of course, I would still mic it over plugging it in. I just don't like DI acoustics very much, but this one does sound pretty good DI. So if you're playing live, I think it's really good for that. Yeah, I that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's not mine, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know I love the sound of it. All right, I'm gonna go through my pedals really quick. I got a few of them and they're pretty fun, so we'll go through them really quick. So on my bass pedal board, I have a Korg tuner. I actually just dropped my pedal board recently, so it got kind of busted up. Right next to that, I have an Electro Harmonix bass micro synth. This thing is awesome, and it also got busted when I dropped my pedal board. One of the faders broke on it, so there's just no control on that anymore, so I'm gonna have to get that fixed. I literally dropped it yesterday though, so I haven't got around to it yet. The only thing that wasn't really affected when I dropped it is my Aguilar tone hammer, thankfully, because this thing is so crucial to my bass tone. It has a great sound, and honestly, I feel like it's a kind of a hidden gem for DI boxes for bass preamps. It's got such a good sound. When I dropped it, the knobs got a little beat up, but the thing works perfectly fine. So really no harm done there. I can always replace the knobs. I have two other pedals that are not on a board or anything like that, and those are my my Rat, which, you know, you all know what a Rat is if you play guitar. It's just a distortion pedal. It's kind of like a mainstay distortion pedal. It's super fun. I had that on my bass pedal board for a while, but I found that the bass micro synth just kind of gets me a better distortion sound for bass, so I use that instead. And then the other pedal that I have is the Microcosm. That thing is awesome. You can put anything through it and it just sounds great, but it is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit of a one-trick pony, but it does that trick really well, so I've kept it around. So the last thing in my setup is the accessories. I know some people like this stuff, so I figured I'd throw it in there. I don't have a whole lot going on here, but we'll go ahead and start out with my desk mat, which is the Orbit Key desk mat. It's like a fake leather, but it's super high quality, and it's got like a little raceway where you can like put a magnet and run cables through it, and it looks good, so that's why I got it. Moving on from that, I have the Logitech MX Master 3S, which is this mouse right here. This mouse has a great feel to it. It's super ergonomic. It's got the side scroll wheel, which is great for when you're working in timelines. But most importantly for me, when I'm recording these videos or recording an artist, is as a very silent click. Let me go ahead and just show you really quick. I actually don't even know if you could hear that, but it's a really quiet click, but you can still feel it. So, you know, it really gets the job done for me. It's kind of a bit pricey for a mouse, but I like it. So, you know, that's that. The last thing that I have that I would consider an accessory is external storage. I've got one external SSD and one external hard drive. The hard drive just sits in a fireproof safe. It's got my backup of all my project files from really when I started producing. So I'm talking, I think like 12 years ago. It's got all my old Ableton Live 8 projects on it. It's got everything on it. So that's in a safe. Those are also on my SSD, but that's not in a safe. So if we had a fire or something, you know, I'd lose it all. So the SSD is more of like a working drive. These days, I mostly do video stuff on it because I have a terabyte SSD in my Mac now. Before I had like a 256, which was just stupid. But so yeah, that's more of like a video drive now. I do all my video projects on it, but I do keep some backups on there as well. So it's always good to have backups, guys. You don't want to lose stuff. So yeah, that is my entire setup. I think I've went through just about everything. I'm going to have links to everything in the description. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it is Amazon affiliate links. So if you want to support the channel, that is a great way to do so because it doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little bit of a kickback for referring you. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything in my setup, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you're still here and you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to learn music production, go ahead and click this video here. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next one.